In approximately 2011, Rainbow Dash began her search for the best pet. And in approximately 2011, she found the best pet. In a contest, she ranked 11 animals in the categories of speed, agility, guts, style, awesomeness, coolness, and radicalness. Now, I need you to go on a ride with me. Get in the car, put on your seatbelt. We can get fries and a milkshake on the way. If you're good. As we all age, we morph from personality to personality. We change so much we may as well be 20 different people throughout our lifetime. And some of those people are cooler than others. 20% cooler, to be exact. And some of those people suck. Today we're going to be ranking all of the me's, not to be confused with me's, that I have been throughout my lifetime. Hello. I've split up my personalities and I've come to the conclusion that I've been 11 different people throughout my lifetime so far. And it just so happens that Rainbow Dash has 11 contestants competing for her Big Blue Horse Big Blue Horse love. Our ranking goes from 20% cooler, S tier, all the way down to F tier, which is get away from me. We're starting with toddler me, which I've marked this as ages 0 to 4, but I guess it's more like ages 3 to 4 because we're not going to count the first 2 years because babies suck. I was smart, apparently. I wouldn't know. I'm just going by what my mom has said. I was climbing out of my crib and walking before I was a year old, so I guess that's kind of cool. Before we get ahead of ourselves, toddler me is represented by a hummingbird. Because the hummingbird won Rainbow Dash's agility test, and I'm assuming that a baby climbing out of a crib has to have some kind of agility. Right? So how does toddler me rank on the coolness scale? I think I'll put them at B, which is cool. Toddler me was probably pretty cool. I bet if you asked them for help on your spelling test, they would try. You want. We're calling ages 5 through 8 Kid Me, which is represented by this here owl, which won Rainbow Dash's awesomeness contest by putting its head backwards. But I don't think Kid Me could do that. Kid Me didn't know transgender people existed, but did know they wanted to be a boy really bad. My imagination helped with that. While playing pretend with friends, I would always pretend to be the male characters from my favorite shows. The Red Power Ranger, the Green Power Ranger, the White Power Ranger, that cat from Hocus Pocus. Clearly I was very cringe, before cringe was a thing. And I think back then we just called that annoying. I was so ignorantly happy, and so dumb. I was a sheltered kid. I literally didn't know anything.
Does not know anything. Does not even know ABCs.
And I wanted to live in the troll world, which I only ever saw on the back of a box. Dumb kid. Could be cooler.
Could be cooler!
I so desperately wanted to be an edgelord goth kid when I was a preteen, but from ages 9 to 12, I was pretty much just entirely a horse girl, minus the horse part. So maybe more like that one cringy wolf girl on TikTok. I was pretty creative at the time, which is worth a point, but that point is immediately taken away because I wrote stories instead of drew pictures. Not that there's anything wrong with writing, I'm just a visual artist. So preteen me was lost. Literally, because I wanted to run away and live in a tree. I also wanted to have like 12 kids, so pretty much entirely because of that. You, get away from me. Early teen me, from 13 to 15, can pretty much be described as weird. So much so that I was picked on at school a decent amount. That wasn't helped by the fact that I brought a fox skull to school for show and tell in middle school. Also, it didn't help that I wore skirts with tights to school, and I wasn't allowed to shave my legs, so when the other girls saw little hairs poking out of my tights, I was made fun of. Since I was the quiet kid, when I did speak, people pretty much just stared at me. It made me feel even weirder, and I still wanted to be a boy, but I was repressing that part of me really hard. Between the raging hormones and wanting to spend all of my time in my room drawing, I would say early teen me was not cool.
Not cool.
I moved you a little. Are you okay? When I went from middle school to high school, I was forced to find an entirely new friend group. Not because I moved or anything, but because there was drama between me and my best school friend, and all of our circle of friends decided to side with her instead of me, and they decided they were going to try to beat me up after school. So the me from 16 to 17 was a little different than I had been before. I was still kind of weird, but my new group of friends were also kind of weird, I think. So I became a metalhead, listened to entirely Megadeth, and I was mean to people when they talked to me, which resulted into most people just leaving me alone. I was still undoubtedly the weird kid, but my friends seemed to like my weirdness, so that kind of made me feel a little bit cool. Not to mention that at this time I was getting into drawing Yiffy art, which if you don't know what that is, don't look it up. So high school me was 10 out of 10 in the awesomeness category, but this was the radicalness category, so points are docked for that.
I'm afraid this is the radicalness competition, so I'm gonna have to take some points off.
The fresh out of high school me was so cool. Somehow I still didn't know that being trans was a thing, so I was still pushing against that part of myself. But this was definitely the biggest they era that I've ever been through. I got a job, chopped my hair into a faux hawk, got some piercings, and embraced all of these things that made me different. I went to some furry conventions, had one of every pet you can imagine. Seriously, name a pet and I've had it. So from 18 to 20, I was way cool, and I miss being that person. I went to college late, and college me is this here butterfly, because you know butterflies have guts. And it took guts for me to go to an art school that was going to put me in debt for the rest of my life and then go out of business soon after.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just...
From 21 to 23, I was so cool. I embraced my inner goth, wore exclusively Hot Topic clothes, and I was driven, motivated, and excited. I had stretched ears, blue hair, cat,
yellow shirt, hat.
20% cooler. From 24 to 25, I was kind of a mess. Depression started taking a chokehold. I lost all of my motivation, and I kind of abandoned what made me, me. I told myself I wasn't a furry and I didn't want to be a boy. This person absolutely sucked. And believe it or not, this was when I started my YouTube channel. Anyway, mid-20s me. Get away from me. Somehow when I thought things couldn't get worse, 26 to 27-year-old me was blindsided by so many life changes. Having a baby, working up to management at Chipotle, which I was let down by and walked out of soon after. I had full-on depression. I was trying my hardest, but it wasn't working. Aesthetically, I was a little bit cooler. I had cooler clothes and I cared about what I looked like and what my apartment looked like. So mental health aside, I would say I was just cool. Newly trans me, or 28 to 31 me, was pretty awesome. Considering the amount of depression and the weird stage of transness when you don't really like looking in the mirror and you aren't sure what you're gonna end up looking like, I'd say I was pretty much way cool. I worked on a food truck. How is that not cool? So 32 to now. So this is me now. Well, I'm biased and narcissistic. So of course I'm going to say 20% cooler. Look at this hair. Look at that dog. I've embraced my furry identity. I'm working on my art and my comic. I may still have mental health issues, but I'm medicated and I'm in therapy. The one thing that might knock Tank down a little is diabetes. Nah, still 20% cooler. Aside from being a test video for my editing and recording with new equipment, the main takeaway from this video should be just love yourself. Because you're basically gonna be a new person in a few years. So why not give yourself a break and remember that you're a direct result of your surroundings and your mindset. Love who you are and love all of the who's that you've been. And remember to keep an open mind. This little kid had no idea what they were in for. But you know, I guess it wasn't so bad. And I've come to the conclusion? Stupid.